All right, this is our third session. We're talking about divine lockup. God Almighty's in control of the universe. He never misses. Everything He wills happens. Everything He plans, He carries out to perfection. And currently, God's plan is to lock up humanity. He locks up humanity in unbelief. And He lets a few out, a little at a time. And He locks them up into sin. And He locks us up, and now we're going to look up, He locks us up in vanity. Now, here's King James, Romans 8:20. For the creature was made subject. By the way, that Greek word there is just like it seems in English, and it's the word where a king, the people under him, are his subjects. In fact, more specifically, it's a military term, and it's about the military leader and the people under his command. So this is really, they are not only just under him, they are doing his will. You get that? And the Romans 8:20 says that the creature was made subject. God made the king of creation to be vanity. And now, I like the next part of the verse, right? Not willingly. Again, who volunteered for this? Did you volunteer to be in unbelief? Did you volunteer to be a misser and to sin and to have failure in your life? Did you volunteer for vanity? It was against your will. Rotherham says, unto vanity hath the creation been made subject, not by choice. No will, no choice. To vanity was the creation made subject, not of its will. I don't know where free will comes into play, do you? There's really only one ultimate will in the universe, and it's the will of God. And what God wills happens. All is out of God. All is through God. All is to God. And if you think you have a will, it's just an illusion in your mind. Now, to vanity was the creation made subject, not of its will. Young. For vanity was the creation subjected, not voluntarily. No volunteers in this army, to which vanity is the commanding general. This is a draft. And it took everybody. It took the whole. Notice here, by the way, notice here. This, by the way, got bigger. You know, we didn't have the animals having unbelief, but now we've moved over to the creature, and we've moved over to the whole creation is in vanity. Well, what is this vanity stuff? Well, listen to this. I had a 90-year-old lady call me the other day, and we've been putting this book that we're going to do. We've been putting it out in series in the Bible Student's Notebook, which you can get free electronically if you give us your address. I had a 90-year-old woman that called me the other day. She said, she's from the South, such a sweet lady. She said, Clyde, I'm going to tell you something. I never knew what vanity was. And when I read that we were locked up under vanity, she said, I know exactly what that's about. 90 years old. She's got 90 years of experience of being locked up in vanity. She knew what it was. Here's the definitions, by the way. The definition of vanity is, she said, you know, I always thought she confused vanity with vain. And vain in the sense of pride. Now, no question that a lot of humanity's got pride. Okay, but that's not the idea of this word here. This word is hypotasso, and here's its definition. Oh, excuse me, that was for subject. But its meaning is emptiness. The whole creation's locked up in the emptiness. There's nothing in there. It's empty. Does that word sometimes ring a bell to you? That there's something missing? There's something empty? Listen, to seek, here's a second definition. To seek without finding. Paul said to the pagans at Mars Hill that they were groping after God, if happily they might find Him. Are you there? But they're not finding. Seeking without finding. Here's another definition of vanity. Now, these are the Greek definitions. Unprofitable. Wow, that's more than just business, you know. Right? You say, oh, man. And you keep watching the years tick by and you think, oh, man, what's the purpose of all this? Uselessness. I saw a little slogan the other day. There are no indispensable people in the grave. We all think we're indispensable, right? Nobody will know we were here before long. Sometimes I'll walk up at the cemetery. Who knows these people? Their children, their grandchildren. First of all, the great-grandchildren don't even know where their great-grandparents are buried. They don't even know their names. Here's another definition of the Greek word, pointless. Ever seem like life is pointless? Oh, my. And guess what? We've been subjected to this. This is what we've been. This is our leader. This is our general that tells us what to do. And where to go. He's a good job telling us where to go, too. When to get off. In other words, and this definition resonates with us. We say things like, things would just be different and complete if only I had. If only I were. If only this didn't happen. If only. If only I lived somewhere else. If only I had a different job. If only I had a different husband. Gosh, if only something else would change, my life would be have meaning and a point to it. Now listen, here's the way other translations translate this word vanity. All our examples here all use vanity. But listen to some of these other translations. I love it. The Understandable Version says that we are all subjected to aimless frustration. First of all, aimless. We don't know where we're going. You know? I mean, even if we ain't drinking, we're drunk. We don't know where we're going. And it's frustrating. Aimless frustration. Isn't that good? I like that. The Bible Worldwide English said that we're locked up in spoilage. We're like fruit at the store that nobody bought and it's rotten. You know? You ever feel like rotten fruit? That's because you are. But you're God's rotten fruit, so that's okay. The Montgomery translation says that we're subjected to imperfection. The Riverside New Testament says that we've been subjected to folly. The Weymouth translation says that we have been subjected to failure and unreality. I like that. Unreality. We are living in a fantasy world. We don't, watch the news, watch what people talk about. This world is crazy. They don't even know what reality is. You know what the bottom reality is? All is out of God. All is through God. All is to God. God, all in all. Everything else is unreality. Moffat translation says we have been subjected to futility. The New Life New Testament says we've been subjected to weakness. The Phillips says we've been subjected to limitation. The Michael translation says we've been subjected to emptiness. These are all these students of the Scripture trying to find a way to convey the large scope of this word vanity to which all the creation has been subjected. And by the way, it was not willingly, it was not by choice, it was not of its will, and it was not voluntarily. None of us volunteered for this condition. This deficiency, by the way, is in us. And God put this deficiency in us so that we would, of necessity, have to look elsewhere for purpose and meaning and sufficiency. He created His creation with a longing. Our ultimate purpose is to be complete in Him. Colossians 2:10. And yet humanity is bent on looking at their perfection, looking at their purpose, looking at their meaning in all the wrong places. And mankind's fulfillment cannot be found outside of God. Here's sufficiency's answer. Listen to Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves. Not that we're sufficient of ourselves to think anything of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God. Wow. Is that completeness? Is that perfection? Is that satisfaction? If you look, listen, almost everybody here in this room is old enough to know that it's nowhere else. And it's all vanity. Listen to performance answer. This is Christianity. Christianity wants you to find your fulfillment, your performance, right? Do, oh, and don't too. Don't do all this, don't do all, and do all this, and you'll be fulfilled. Oh, it doesn't work. I can be the first one on the witness stand that it don't work. And then Dwayne will be right behind me. He's second witness, called by the prosecution. Listen to what Paul said in Romans 7:18. For the will is present with me, but how to perform? It's empty. Can't find it. But where's the answer? Philippians 1:6. I love this. Listen. Being confident of this very thing, that he who began the good work, he began it, in me, will, what's that next one? Perform. The exact thing Paul didn't know how to do. He will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Why? Because everything's out of God. Everything's through God. Everything's to God. We're His workmanship. Ephesians 2:10. Or as the Concordance says, we're His achievement. Weymouth says, we're His handiwork. We're not the creator. We're the creatures. We're the clay. He's the potter. And He will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. The wonderful thing is that you and I can live in vanity. We can live in vanity without vanity. Ecclesiastes 1, 2, and 3 says this. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit of a man hath all his labors which he takes under the sun? There's the sunshine. Everything under the sunshine is vanity of vanities. That was the great wisdom of Solomon after he'd seen it all. It's nothing. It's empty. It's fruitless. It's purposeless. It has no fulfillment. But listen to Paul's words. Watch how he flips it around. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 8, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know as your labor is not in vain. In the Lord. Not in vain. You know, going to work every day. That's Ecclesiastes. The sun rises. You know, we get up, we eat breakfast, we go to work, we come home, we eat supper, we go to bed, we get up in the morning, we go to work, hopefully eat breakfast. Brush your teeth, got that too. Go to work because they're going to rot. Go to bed, and over and over and over and over and over and over and over, vain. And all of a sudden, when you know God and His completeness, all of a sudden none of that's vain anymore. It's all divine service. It's all divine. We've been enlightened. Because the rest of the story is this. Listen, the rest of the story is this. What does the rest of this verse say? I'm going to read it to you. This is not the end. Remember, we're always talking about that. This is not the end. The end is not vanity. Because listen, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of Him who has subjected the same creation, the same creature and creations, He subjected them to vanity that He might subject them to hope. Hope, by the way, is not, oh, I hope I get a raise at work. Hope is confident expectation of what is surely to come to pass because God has said it. And what God says is as sure as done. He calls the things that are not as though they are. Because all is out of God, all is through God, all is to God. All right, we got a little behind the other lessons. We're moving